What is going on, cyberspace? Welcome to the HyperPixel podcast. I am Michael K. And Zerain, I didn't see you there. Would you like to do a podcast with me? It's unbelievable that you're here. I had no idea that you would be joining me.
Let's do it.
Fantastic. Well, you heard it here first. Cyberspace. There are two awesome dudes here to give you whatever the heck we're going to do today, Zerain. I know what we're going to do, but we're not going to introduce it just yet. How are you doing, Zerain? How are you doing?
I'm good.
That's the first order of business here.
I'm good. I'm caffeinated.
Fantastic.
Ready to go.
I'm partially caffeinated.
Okay. Well, I guess technically I'm just partially caffeinated too.
Yes.
I think I'm like halfway done with my mug of coffee.
Nice.
But yeah, doing good. Very busy. This is a good thing. Yeah, things are happening in the your favorite phrase, flux capacitors fluxing.
Yes. Yes.
It's all good, man. How about you?
Right. Things are good. Things are also busy. I have been spending a lot of time trapped in a room by myself with a camera and a lot of green stuff. So I haven't gone fully crazy yet, but I have begun talking to myself, all the personalities that are within me. So there is that. But you know, I think things are good. Things are great, Zerain.
So green stuff. So is that some alien influence on you?
Right, precisely. A little bit of slime, you know.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's a body good.
Right, exactly. So, what's been going on in Sector X? Have you been doing anything recreational that's cool aside from staying busy with all the how's the Warzone life?
Oh, God.
Hint, hint, wink, wink.
I don't even that part of it's not even going at the moment. I don't know even what to say. I need to stop talking about all this stuff because it's like one of those like reinforcing cycles that it's like I want to like not play as much and I'm not playing as much as I had been, and I would like to. I think I need to get to playing none for a while so that I can focus that time on other activities.
Right.
But you know, it's just how it goes. The things are good. Of course, I have recently, and by recently I mean like this was actually probably a couple weeks ago, leveled up the newest meta SMG submachine gun.
Nice.
Which is the well gun, and because this is one of the reasons that I've just got to stop playing this game is that like so for whatever Call of Duty game it is Vanguard now, and then obviously the Warzone integration, they have different seasons, and so this is still season 1 of Vanguard because they're pushing season 2 because of the game's broken, and well, it's not completely broken, but there's a lot of bad stuff that needs to be fixed in it. But they do this every stupid season. Like they bring out a new gun, usually at the beginning of the season, mid-season. They bring it at the beginning of the season because it's all the Vanguard guns this time, which were, I mean, there's one that's kind of overpowered, but there's so many problems with it that it's kind of hard to use them for the most part. But mid-season they came out with a gun, the well gun, which is the meta gun, and like is not even close. That it like the second best submachine gun is like it's not even. I mean, it's close, but it's not even that close. Like if you want to look at like the statistics and like the guys that go out there and test all this stuff, it's like the well gun's the best gun. Period. Like for submachine guns. And it's like, okay, so you spend all that time grinding to level up those other guns, and it's like, well, if you want to use the best gun, you've got to use this one now, and they do it every single time. And it's like it's so like. I don't like the word toxic. It's not toxic. It's not the right word. It's just so insidious and planned and obviously intentional to keep you hooked into the game that it's like, I've got to stop that. But aside from that, it's doing okay.
That's cool.
But yeah, I mean, mainly been spending time on like editing our videos. Obviously, if anyone hasn't seen it yet, we released our most recent video, which was the watch music, the pause music. I think the track's actually called Mission Status from GoldenEye 64. The game's GoldenEye 007 on N64. A really great track. Had a lot of fun making it and had a lot of fun doing the editing, although it was a lot of work. It was literally, I would say, if we took the most, the before this, the video that took the most time was Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
And that I would say took about 8 hours to do, like a solid 8 hours to edit. This took closer to 30 hours to edit.
Holy snickerdoodles.
Yeah. It was 100% worth it if you ask me, though.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen it, it's a lot of green screen stuff. Actually, it's almost exclusively green screen stuff. And the stuff that's not exclusively green screen is still having to be stitched together in a green screen type manner.
Right.
So it's there's a lot to it, and but I'm not complaining because, like I said, I had fun doing it. I'm extremely proud of the outcome. So if any of you cyberspacelings haven't seen it, please go to michaelk.net and check out the latest video, the GoldenEye watch music video, because I spent a lot of effort and very proud of the outcome.
Yeah, I think that turned out like way better than I even thought that it would, honestly. I mean, I knew it was going to be good, but I don't know. It's just like seeing everything all put together and everything. Yeah. There's just something about seeing everyone on the screen at once that is just so awesome.
Yeah.
That whole phenomenon.
What's funny is like, I think it's a different, I know it's a different experience between you and me, because me in my mind, I envision all these characters together, and I think about that a lot. And obviously we've had other videos where we've edited it to be that way. And so that's really how I see these characters. But for you, it's so different because, basically playing these characters, it's like you're just doing it serially one at a time.
Yeah.
And so you don't, I mean, not to say that you don't think about it this way, but I don't think you have the same kind of, you certainly don't have the only feel of like thinking about them in that way, right? For me, that's all that I know of those characters is they're all together. And for you, like, no, you got to get into this outfit, get out of that outfit, get into this other outfit, and then you got to do it. So for you, they probably feel viscerally a lot more disconnected.
Right. That's pretty accurate.
I've actually never thought about that because they feel so distinct and different, and I know it's all you, but it's like I guess my mind lives in the world, the fantasy of
the worst thing about the whole thing is I try to film everything as efficiently as I can. So I'll dress up as one character and film everything that I can as that character before I have to switch costumes and all that stuff. But the biggest problem is that when I have to reposition the camera for some reason to do something else, so I have to film everything with that camera angle, so inevitably I have to switch clothes constantly. That kind of thing.
Man, that's terrible.
But the one that we're working on now, I feel like GoldenEye was much different, but this one I feel like I was actually able to, like, okay, I'm going to do everything as Humphrey this time. I'm going to do everything as Todd. There were a couple things that didn't work that way, but for the most part, it was a little bit more efficient. So that was good.
Yeah. Just to give the viewers, listeners, a perspective, the video that we're working on now, which I'm just starting to edit, there are 229 source videos for. So that's kind of an idea of the scale of what's going on here.
There were,
of course, some of those videos are like 5 seconds long.
Yeah. There was probably at least double that before I cut out some of the bad ones. So, and I did a couple different. Some of them had a couple different takes of the same thing, and then I picked the best one, and that kind of stuff.
Oh man.
So yeah. It was
that's the lesson here is we have to learn how to continue to become more efficient around such processes, because it's just the two of us. Like, it would be different if we had like one or two more people like helping to sort through stuff and organize stuff. But
efficiency is going to come when I can friggin' paint a wall green. When that happens, that is going to help me tremendously. Hopefully both of us, honestly. So
yeah, I think so. It certainly will be a lot easier for the chroma keying and stuff like that. So that'll be good. We also need to think about, and this is kind of like a discussion you and I should have. I don't know that we've talked too much about, just thinking about the workflow of the data. So like, the recording of the video, and like you have to parse it and stuff. And it's like, should you be doing that? Maybe yes is the answer, but I don't know if yes is the answer. Anyway, that's a conversation we could have.
Yeah,
I think that's a place we could become a little more efficient too.
Yeah. I think the big thing right now is I'm just making sure I'm not jumping out of the frame or something. And I don't need to refilm something. That's really all I'm doing.
Well, if that's the case, the wall will kind of fix it.
Yeah, once that is no longer an issue, then yeah, we can reassess that situation when we get there. When we get there.
Yeah. As soon as we get there. Yeah, I feel it, man. But yeah, it's cool, and like I'm really excited about the one we're working on now because I've got some ideas on what to do that are going to make my life really hard for a short period of time. But if I can pull it off, I will be very happy that I did.
Zorain, every time you say that, I'm always pleased with the outcome. I apologize for the pain that it causes you in the moment, but it's totally worth it.
Some of that's tongue in cheek, so it's not pain; it's just time, and
it hurts so good.
Right. But yeah, I appreciate you saying that, and I think so too. If I thought it wasn't worth it, I wouldn't. You know how these conversations went. I'm the one who suggested all these things to do.
Right.
I'm like, we need to do this,
and I'm like, all right,
I'll film
okay.
So, I mean, I'm my own worst enemy in that way, but I think that that's worth doing because I think that that's what sets what we're trying to do, especially now, what we're trying to do apart from, other creators, in a way that's not us just trying to be a better this person or a better that, not that it's a competition like that, but just trying to conceptualize, uniquely what it is we are and what we're doing here. And I think that, we're starting to see kind of the silhouette of something that is uniquely us. And that's more than anything, that's making me very excited.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
So I think we definitely, for the viewers and listeners, we have some good stuff planned, and I think it's going to get even better as time goes on.
Definitely.
So you've been doing a lot of TikTok lately.
Yes, I have. Zorain, you've been doing a lot of TikTok lately.
I've been consuming a lot of TikTok.
You have been. This is something that we've been like kind of siloed in this area. So I've been kind of like really focusing on Instagram a lot over the past several months, and Zorain has been kind of focusing on TikTok, and so it's been interesting because I feel like for a while I totally unplugged from TikTok. I was just like, I don't really know what to do here. I don't know. And Zorain has been doing some extensive scientific research on the TikTok platform. Yeah, and has been educating me on some things that I need to try to do. And so we've done a few of those things. And they have how many things have we done? Like 3 or 4?
I think it's just 3 actually.
Videos. Okay. So they have performed like just light years better than any of the drum stuff that we have been posting in the past. It's been
pretty much of those 3. I think 2, maybe 3 of the posts I have done better than all but one other previous post. Which is
that's pretty accurate. I think the only other one was the one where I almost hit myself in the face with the stick.
Yeah,
and it's super short. It's like one of those where it's super short and it has a bunch of text on it. So like by the time somebody reads all the text, the video's done and I got a view. So
and then they watch it again so they can watch it without having to read the text. So yeah, that's good. It's funny too, and like everything about that's perfect because like it looks like you actually added the music in there and you didn't. It wasn't part of what was going on, but it was actually what you're playing. So that's another level of realization when watching it.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to diving into some of the stuff that you've been sending me, Zorain, and start doing some of that stuff. I mean, that's been my biggest obstacles. Like I literally don't know what to do. Like every time I look at TikTok, like I get so overwhelmed with all the different like trends and all these different things, and what it thinks I want to see and what I actually want to see, and all that kind of stuff. So
#boomer talk.
Right.
Well, one thing that I was going to say is that, and this is what I've experienced in my, I guess, increased time on TikTok over the past few weeks, is that it's really cool once you can find genuine communities on TikTok and not just people doing stuff to try to like become super popular or, and I, when I mean super popular, I mean like virality, you know, like millions and millions of views. It's one thing to try to be getting exposed to more people so that you can interact with more people in the sense of, you know, really have genuine interaction and genuine, you know, like discussion on topics, which I think is what we're really driving at because, you know, especially with like the retro gaming thing, there's a lot of people in that community that, you know, obviously we're aware of in other places. It's just like, it takes a while to massage TikTok to get to that point where it starts showing you
that was very interesting to me. Was like I definitely am very plugged into all that stuff on Instagram, but TikTok to me has always been like, okay, this is like the funny platform. This is the comedy platform. This is where you go to watch comedy or, you know, people dancing or whatever. And the music stuff is like, it's there, but you know, it's very hit or miss, I guess. But yeah, the retro gaming aspect of the whole thing, I never really knew that existed until you started sending me some of this stuff. So
here's the way that I've started to mentally conceptualize it. It's like Reddit. When you get on TikTok, it's showing you the default r/all or whatever. You know, well, I think Reddit actually is different now, but you can think about back in the day, it would show you like the 20 or 30 biggest subreddits. So it'd show you like news, gaming, like just the basic gaming subreddit, not even like true gaming or anything like that. You know, it would show you world news, politics, television, gadgets, I think was part of it for a while, technology. So like the ones that are like so huge, so broad, it's like there's no real sense of community for the most part at all on it. But then to actually use Reddit in a way that's in any way interesting, if you ask me, you have to unsubscribe from all of those subreddits and go and find the other subreddits that are very interesting. Like, you know, like I said, true gaming is still pretty big, but I mean, one of my favorite gaming subreddits is patient gamers, because that's much more my speed. You know, so you have to go and intentionally find those things, and some of them are hard to find. But the way it is on TikTok, I think you to get out of r/all is to go and search and then interact with the things that you find that are interesting, and just use TikTok as a search engine first. And then after a while, it starts understanding what you're doing, what you're wanting. And when you're just scrolling, only interact with the things that are as close as possible to what you want to be seeing. And then quickly it will understand that you don't want to be seeing the things you don't want to see.
That's a pretty good perspective. I like that. That makes a whole lot of sense.
It took my boomer self like forever to figure that out too. So, well, I'm the boomer that like when I first opened Snapchat, I'm like, what the is this? What do what? Why am I looking at myself? What is this thing? Hang this up. Hang up this phone. Disconnect.
Unplug the phone line.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like cut the wire. Like the like Snapchat, even to this day, like I don't use it.
I have never installed. I have never used it before.
Oh, have you ever experienced the UX of?
No.
The second you open the application, it's got the front facing camera on you, and it looks like you're about to take a picture. It literally feels like you're opening the camera application with the front facing camera. It's like the first time you open it, that's what happens. That's it.
Wow.
It's like, what the heck is this?
Wow.
Again, anybody who listens to this who's under, you know, like 28 years of age, 27 years of age is like, okay, boomer. I'm like, I know I'm a boomer, dude. I'm not worried about that. I'm just like, I just don't understand what this thing is asking me to do. And I understood what Snapchat was. I didn't, the first time I installed it, it was well after what I understood what it was as a platform. But there's a disconnect between, okay, yeah, you make these stories that disappear and you can post pictures that disappear, or you can have, you know, chat messages with friends or whatever and send pictures back and forth. I knew that's what it was, but you get into it and then it's just a camera, and it's like, I didn't open this because I wanted to make something right now. And I understand for expediency, efficiency for power users, that makes total sense. But like, come on, Snapchat, have a little bit of hand holding would be good for the first time user. Anyway, I'm going on a UX critique now, and so we need to ratchet this back.
Right. Well, Zerain, unless there's something else that you'd like to bring up about TikTok, I vote we dive into the topic at hand here.
I think that's just fine. Now's the time.
Now is the time. So
for the final battle cry.
For the final battle cry. Yes, exactly. So way back in the dark ages of the year 2014, a demo surfaced on the PlayStation 4 store, and you could download this demo, and it was called PT, and it's very spooky, and nobody knew exactly what it was. I don't even know. I know that it was designed to where it would take like at least like a week or so to beat or something like that, but I don't actually know how long it took the first person to beat it to communicate with the rest of the world to tell them what it was.
I think it was something like 3 or 4 days. I don't think it was a whole week.
Yeah, I think that's accurate too. But yeah, so we're just gonna talk about PT today a little bit, because I think this game is near and dear to both of us for so many different reasons.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so how do you feel about PT, Zerain?
Oh, that is a complicated and deep question. You had to bring up the emotions word first thing.
Just feel it.
Yeah. So before I get into how I feel about it, I do want to mention some of the first brush that I had with it, because like most people, I got it spoiled pretty quickly that it was a Silent Hill demo. That's the way it was put to me, Silent Hill demo.
Yeah.
But before that, I'm pretty sure I had actually seen that kind of trailer for the teaser video that they made, where it was I don't know.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
People may have seen this.
Forgetting about that trailer, but yeah.
Yeah, where it was a bunch of people, and I think it was mainly girls, but there's some like guys in it too, where they're like sitting like in a dark room, and so it had like a black or a night vision camera kind of on the person, and they were just sitting there playing the game, like looking at the screen. You could see, and so it was like an oblique angle or whatever, and then like they're just like really like, you could tell they're kind of like timid and like just kind of anxious, and then like then something happens, you don't know what happens, and then like they scream, and then it's like the reaction of people clearly seeing Lisa for the first time, like the full on jump scare, and it's like, like people throw the controller and like all this kind of stuff happens, and it's like, like they get this reaction. And the way that it was crafted, the kind of trailer video was good, because you didn't get the sense that it was just a jump scare. You got the sense that like this whole thing was like an overwhelming experience, which it is the first time you play it, which is really, really awesome. And so that, but it didn't register with me, because at the time when I saw it, I was like, oh, a new horror game. That's cool. To me, even at the time, a new horror game just meant game with jump scares. And I mean, I know that really took off after that, but I guess my point is that I had so unplugged from the horror genre at that point. One, I wasn't really aware of too many of the new games that were horror games. There weren't really too many new horror games at that point. Horror was kind of like almost a dying genre, I would say, then, which is weird to think about.
I hadn't even thought about that. That's pretty true.
Yeah, and with there not being any Silent Hill games, and not only that, like the most recent Silent Hill game being Downpour, which is not bad, but it's also not good.
What system is that for?
It's on PS4. Or PS3 rather, excuse me, PS3.
Okay.
And 360 and PC. Is it on PC? I don't know if Downpour's on PC. I know Homecoming was, because I bought it day one on PC, and it was a mess, and it made me upset about that game. But yeah, the most two recent Silent Hill games were Downpour and Homecoming, or at least main games, and it's like they were not good. Like as far as it goes with the whole lore or anything, because like Team Silent clearly had no hand in any of it. Not only that, Akira Yamaoka didn't even do the music for Downpour, so it's like,
Oh wow.
yeah, they got Daniel Lichter or whatever his name is. He did the music for Dexter on HBO. Anyway, the music wasn't bad, but it wasn't Akira Yamaoka. It wasn't like his style, and it just I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. This is not a Silent Hill podcast per se. Anyway, point being that I kind of had lost faith in the Silent Hill series. Resident Evil was Resident Evil 5 and 6. Puke. Oh my goodness. Like Resident Evil 6, I just do not like personally. And anybody who's a real fan of the lore of the series understands why. Well, not just that, but also the mechanics of the series. Just, I don't like it. And so beyond that, there weren't really many good new horror IPs. And so personally, I had unplugged from horror. And so I was really jaded about the horror genre, that like everything is just going to be like a cheap jump scare sort of thing. Nothing where it was like, because the whole point of Silent Hill 2 is like basically there's no jump scares. I mean, maybe there's like 1 or 2 points, but there's just like dread and like, despair. And that's the kind of horror that I like. Anyway, so it didn't register with me, but then somebody said Silent Hill and I'm like, okay, it seems to be very popular. People are excited about it. Silent Hill. People are excited about Silent Hill. Even when like Downpour came out, nobody was excited about Silent Hill. And I think even Homecoming, nobody was excited about Silent Hill except for people who were Silent Hill fans. And so I was like, well, that's a good sign. I would like to play this. And then you, I think, downloaded it, and then we started talking about it. And because like at that point, when I realized it was Silent Hill, I'm like, okay, I'm turning off my receptors for media around this PT thing because I don't want to get spoilers. I don't want to understand anything about it. And that's pretty much where I stood at that point. So
yeah.
I don't know. And then, so how did you come to be aware of it?
So I got a PS4 at launch for, I have no idea what reason, to be honest with you, because I didn't want like any of the games on this thing. I just wanted the new thing for some stupid reason. Right. So anyway, so I got a PS4, and I literally I got, what did I get? There was like a new Killzone game that came out with it, and it was all right. I was like, okay, this is all right. It just feels like, PS3 game, except the graphics are a little bit better. It's like, okay, whatever. And then, bro, probably a year went by. When did the PS4 come out? When did it come out?
That I'm not sure of. I know that I got it much later.
It came out launched in November 15th, 2013. Okay. So yeah, not quite a year later. So PT came out August 12th, 2014. So anyway, this whole year went by where I didn't even use this thing. Like I had a PlayStation Plus subscription, so they had this deal where you get like a free game or whatever once a month, and so some of that stuff was kind of cool, but none of it was mind blowing. There just wasn't anything that was for me personally that just sucked me in. Like, this is the next level. And so I was listening to the CU podcast one day.
Oh yeah.
And they PT came up on this podcast, and they were talking about it, and Ian Ferguson on this podcast, he said, like, this is the game that, like, whenever somebody is curious about, like, next gen video game hardware, like, this is the game that I show them. And so I thought, okay, I have this console that I have like not even really used over this past year. I want to see like what makes me think, okay, we're there. This is the next level. And so I downloaded PT, and I actually didn't play it. For it probably another like maybe 5 or 6 months went by. When did it get pulled from the store?
Had to have been 2015, I guess.
Probably should have done some research on this before the podcast or whatever.
Right.
blah blah blah. But May 2015, it was no longer redownable. Okay, so you could not. Oh no, it was removed from the store in April of 2015, and then in May it was no longer downloadable. Whatever.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So I actually, because I remember I downloaded it in the house I was living in at the time, and then I actually played it in the next house I was living in, which I moved into in February. So it was at some point. I don't remember if it was quite after it was pulled from the store, but it was at some point very close to when it was pulled from the store.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was I was in my game room by myself. It was friggin' nighttime. And it was just, it was like the perfect environment to experience this video game. And so I started playing. I was like, wow, this looks, what's up?
Did you know it was a horror game?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I knew it was a horror game. I also knew the whole Silent Hills thing, but I didn't really,
okay.
I didn't know like anything about it. I just knew like, okay, I need to play this game. I want to experience, next gen or whatever. So
Yeah.
so I started playing it. It gets, it does its PT thing, and gets spooky, gets spooky fairly quickly. And if you've never played it, there's this moment where the game is an L-shaped area. It's just this looping L that you keep going through.
It's a hallway.
Yeah, an L-shaped hallway. And when you're playing a horror game and you turn the corner, it's like, okay, we're good here, or quite the opposite of that. So the game, every time you loop something different, it gets a little spookier every time you loop. And then I remember I was playing it nighttime. It was dark in the room, and I turned that corner, and you see Lisa, this just terrifying looking woman down at the other end of the hallway. Very clearly she is no longer living, and she will probably murder you if you walk down the hallway. So
you have no weapons. This is not a combat game at all.
That's a good point. All you can do is move and zoom in on things. I don't think you can do anything else, right?
You can interact with objects.
Okay, yeah. Right. And that's it.
Which is basically just like open a door or inspect, pick up something to inspect it a little closer.
So, bro, like when I saw her at the other end of this hallway, I think this is the beauty of video games. Like if this happened in a horror movie, there's nothing you can do about it other than just like close your eyes or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you're along for the ride. But like, since this is a video game, like it is my decision to walk down that hallway towards whatever the heck I'm looking at, And the first time I played this game, I was like, actually, I'm not going to do that tonight. I'm going to turn this off and do that later. So I actually stopped playing the game at that point right there until I had the courage the next day to go down that hallway.
Oh man.
But yeah, that was my how I got into PT, and like my first experience playing it was I actually turned it off because I just simply could not.
It's not surprising.
Yeah.
Like I think most people definitely could not with a lot of parts of that game. That's funny. So how much longer was it before you actually soldiered on and kind of pushed on through it?
It was. I think it was the next day that I continued on. It was either the next. It was in the next couple of days. I think it was the next day that I continued on.
Yeah.
And I don't really actually remember when I beat it. It may have been in that second sitting that I actually beat it. And I looked the last puzzle in this thing. I still don't really know how to solve the last puzzle in this game exactly. It seems like you and I have played this together multiple times, and we've actually done different things to beat it. So
yeah.
And
there's sometimes where we do the same thing. It seems like it doesn't work.
Involving the microphone, plugging a microphone into the controller and freaking talking to stuff.
Yeah. And it's like the sequence of things that you have to do at the end is so, what's the word? I was going to say arcane, but that's not the right word. It's so it's weird. It's complex. It's like it's not intuitive. There's nothing that would make you. That's not true. The more the more I think about it, and every time we go back and talk about this or we play it, I think about it a little bit more. The whole thing with so I guess maybe we should try to describe the last puzzle a little bit.
Yeah.
So basically, after you go through all of the different phases of the game, let's just say, and you come into the final phase, you come into the hallway and you have to wait for it to turn midnight. So like at the first part of the hallway, there's a little table that has a clock on it, and like every other time it's set at 11:59, or I'm not sure if that's the case. Or it's set at a static time every other time you come through. And then this time, if you sit and wait a minute, literal minute, it will turn to midnight. And then the midnight, the clock will strike midnight. You'll hear a clock striking. And then so after the 12 strikes, whenever quote unquote Lisa is near, you hear this certain sound start playing, and then you kind of hear her kind of groaning in your ear like that.
Hate it.
And yeah, it's terrible. It's really, especially if you like have headphones on.
Dude, just side note, another thing about this game is the sound design is so friggin' good. Yeah. Having played through this several times, there have been things that I have heard that I have never heard before, like in each playthrough session. Like even freaking one of the last times you and I played it together, we heard some stuff that had never heard before.
Yeah, and we need to talk about that too, because I still feel like that there's secrets about this game that people haven't figured out.
I agree with that.
But so anyway, the last sequence, it turns midnight. You hear the sound, the kind of like it's kind of like this whooshy like rising sound, and then you hear like her in your ear or whatever, and then it stops, and then like you have to take 10 steps or something.
Yeah, I was actually looking it up. So, spoilers if you actually want to figure all this stuff out.
Right. Well, I don't know how would you figure it out? That's what I don't understand.
No clue. So, and side note, when I first beat this, I did not do what the most common solution for this puzzle is. Like, I have no idea what walkthrough I followed exactly, but it was not this one with the different steps and whatever. I did something else.
Yeah.
But anyway, so clock strikes midnight. Player should have a microphone or headset plugged into the controller. In order for the phone to ring, you must hear a baby laugh 3 times. Walking exactly 10 paces in any direction will trigger a laugh. After the second laugh, freeze. Do not move. Do not adjust the camera. After a few seconds, your controller will begin to vibrate. Remain motionless until the vibrations cease entirely. And the third laugh will trigger. The phone will begin to ring after all 3 laughs.
And then you go pick up the phone and you hear, "You've been chosen." Click, and that's it.
Yeah, and there's actually, what I'm looking at here, the one that I just read is, those are the things that are most consistent with all the different methods, but there are actually several different methods listed here. Including, saying stuff into the microphone, which I don't know how the heck would you know? How would you know this, Zorain? How would you know it?
I can understand. So I can understand the whole wait till midnight thing, because if you're in the last hall and it's all dark and stuff, and then like you're just walking around looking at stuff, and then you hear the chime, you don't have to be looking at the clock necessarily. Yeah. And then you're like, okay, wait, what? That's different. And so you stop and you wait for the chiming to start, and then like you hear the baby or whatever, and then you start moving like toward it, or you move slowly, and so slow enough where the steps register one by one, and then you hear the baby and you stop immediately. What the crap is that? So I could see like where if you're like really afraid, like you might accidentally stumble into some of these steps, but like some of them are very specific. Like go and look at Lisa wherever she appears. Because like I just thinking about it's giving me chills, because she could appear like down one hallway, or she could appear in the mirror. Like you have to go look in the mirror. She's behind you, but she's not actually behind. Ugh.
And we've talked about this before whenever I played Infliction a little while ago. Like any game that is kind of inspired by PT, the it's the ghost or monster or whatever in the game is like the way that it looks is just like make or break for the game. Like if it
Yeah.
does not look believable and terrifying, then the moment you see it, the whole thing, it's like here's the guy behind the curtain.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but like Lisa is so well designed. It's actually wild. Like just if you search for PT on the internet, just look at some images of it, like, and all the lighting and stuff is it still gets me, man. It still gets me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the thing is like she's just like it. It looks like a woman who's been very harried and messed with.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she's not. It's not like a monster per se. There's just like certain things, features of her face that are kind of messed up, and she looks like she looks ill from like the tone of her skin and whatnot. And then she's in really dirty clothes and like kind of messed up clothes and has got blood stains on some of her clothes.
Yeah.
And the fact that that's so realistic is I think, and then not just that, she has some weird things about her. She's a very tall woman, which
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
you know, okay, there are very tall women in the world. So that's realistic too, but it's like uncommon. You don't see it that much. So
Yeah.
seeing a very tall woman who's clearly taller than your character is a little unsettling when you're not expecting, especially when she just pops up out of nowhere. And then she never stands exactly straight. She's always like bent or turned or leaning or that kind of stuff. And then
Or
when
making
you
like
see her,
very erratic movements when she's
right. Well, that's what I was going to get to. Is like when she walks, she doesn't even have like a normal walking gait. She's just like one step at a time. And so that's like, you know, really unrealistic. But not just that, she's just jerking everywhere uncontrollably.
Yeah,
And
like-
not even that's what's not realistic is that humans don't move like that. So adding that to all this other stuff that's realistic but weird, but still, like I said, it has to be realistic, but just weird, not common experience. And then one little element of like, that's not human. That's not right.
Yeah.
That's not of this world.
Yeah, and like
that
there
really is what unsettles you.
There are moments where like you might see her doing all that crazy stuff like in a reflection, like or outside or something, and she just disappears. You know,
Yes.
it's like,
oh my goodness.
shut the front door.
Right. Did I really see what I thought I just saw?
Right.
And oh man. And the other thing that is if you don't know that this happens, that is just like, oh my goodness. If I knew about it before I saw it, and I'm just trying to think about how it would feel if I didn't know about it. This would be probably a turn the game off situation. Is like when she possesses you.
Oh yeah.
So like in the game, you get possessed by her in such that, and we haven't mentioned this, but this game has, you mentioned the sound design, but the lighting design is very good in this game too.
Very important.
And so like the hall has like sconces on it and the light projects. And so it creates a lot of shadows. Well, at one point when you're possessed by her, you walk past the light and it casts a shadow on the wall, which it always has, but it's not your shadow anymore. It's her shadow shaking and stuff. And you just stop and the shadow's just still shaking. Like it's her shadow, not your shadow. And it's like, that's so creepy. Oh my goodness.
Yes. For all of you audio people out there, if you're paying attention to the way your footsteps sound regularly, they don't quite sound that way when she's right there with you.
Yeah, it's and so like the game itself is I think it bears us just describing kind of generally what you go through in the game, like the different things you go through in the game. And then I want to talk about, unless you have different thoughts on this, I want to talk about the weird stuff and the random stuff in the game.
Yeah.
So I'll just go through what I can remember, because I'm sure I'll forget stuff, and definitely stop me if you want to add or fill in what I miss. So like we've said, like you can just walk around. You could, I don't, have we ever tried this? Maybe we should try this the next time we're together. We should sit down with the game and try it. Maybe we should make a new PT video together. That might be interesting.
That would be awesome.
So you could do this, and I think we should try this because I don't think we have. Just like run around, right? So you could just like as soon as you come into the hallway, go down, turn, go to the end, go through the door, go down, turn, go to the end, and just do it over and over and over. I wonder if you did that like 100 times, what would happen? Because you can't. I'm pretty sure there's nothing at that point unless you do something to trigger something that it will allow you to do that, unless it stops you to have to go look into the bathroom. I don't recall. That's another thing to mention, is that there's one room you can go into that's not the main hallway. It's a bathroom.
At some point, that door does close and force you to go to the bathroom, but I can't remember which loop exactly that was.
Yeah. So I guess after that, you could be killed at any point. We didn't mention that either. At some point, Lisa just, like, you could just be walking and she just stops you, pulls you back, turns you around, and just kills you. Like, you don't really see it, but you just, that's the whole jump scare moment.
I think the thing that's like, and this is probably totally biased, but that's like my favorite jump scare, the way that it happens, because most jump scares, when they happen, it's like
right in front of your face.
It's like, yeah, it's like right in front of your face, but there's also this audio impact that happens with it. But it's not that way. It like gives you, it's silence. Like, it gives you enough time to register what the heck's happening, and then it does it. It's like, and there's something more impactful to me about that. It's like it gives you enough time to just process what's happening, and then it hits you with the audio jump. I don't know. It's very interesting. Well, I've never seen a game do that before.
Maybe I'm misremembering, but I feel like it also actually changes your perspective. It's not like it just plays a video in front of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It moves you, like she grabs you and turns you around, and then it plays the video of her killing you.
Yeah.
And then not only that, the part of the her killing you, it drops your camera to the ground, and you hear the thud, and then you hear like what sounds like pants zipping, and then like you hear just like weird unnatural sounds, and you kind of see her feet there or whatever. And so it's like, it's almost like she cut your head off. I don't know. We should analyze this, because I've never thought about this. I'm not saying we should analyze it now, because we'd have to watch the video and stuff, but at some point we should analyze this.
Yeah.
Because I've never thought about that. She probably rips your head off, if we think about it. Because do you see your own feet, or do you see her feet? I think you see her feet. I don't recall. It's been so long since
her feet. Man.
Yeah. So that means that she's clearly still doing something with your body. So she probably rips your head off.
Yeah.
I never
even thought about that.
She probably bites your head off. Think about it, because she comes in at you like this, right? Like at an angle.
Yeah. She's
probably biting your neck and biting your head off. I'd never even thought about that crap, dude.
Hate it.
Oh man,
hate it.
Yeah, that's giving me even another level of anxiety around all this. Especially because I'm looking at the pictures of her. I got to move that tab off.
Yeah, I had to close mine.
Yeah. Anyway, so we were talking about the things that you do through this game. So you can walk around. At some point, the door that you go through at the end of the hallway locks, and I think, like, was it like as soon as you like try to open it, it gives you the lock sound, and then you hear the door behind you open at the bathroom, because it's
very slowly and squeakily.
Yeah, everything squeaks in this game. The floorboards squeak, the doors squeak. Like there's a part of the hallway is like the front door, but you can never go through the front door. That's just there for display purposes, basically. But there's a pendant light, kind of. It's like a chandelier almost, really, hanging in the entryway of the house, and it's slightly swinging all the time, and you can always just kind of hear back and forth, and it's like that just adds so much to the ambience of the whole environment. So anyway, you go back and you go into the bathroom, and or actually no, you go back to the bathroom, the door slams closed. Well, if you look, you try to look, it's only open. I'm getting things out of order. You're going to have to correct me here, because I'm going to get crap wrong.
I'm also trying to remember the order of events here.
The doors. This is complete spoilers for the game, so like don't listen if you don't want spoilers.
This is accurate, though. That's the first time you interact with the bathroom.
Yeah. So the doors open a crack, and so like you try to like open it, you have to get like just the right angle. So the game's trying to make you look to where you're looking into the bathroom through that crack. And then you see Lisa's face come up, and she shuts the door. And so then you're like freaked out. I'm not alone. Because to that point, you think I'm alone here, because it's like completely empty, completely just like relatively quiet aside from the ambient noise.
That first part took me so long to play the first time I played this, which I think is why I was so like, nope, not AVI by the time that she was at the end of the hallway.
Right. Nope.
Yep.
And then so when the door slams closed, the other door unlocks. You hear that, and then you can go down and go through another loop. Then I think at some point, I don't know if it's the next one, like it gets dark and the bathroom's open and you can see there's a light in the bathroom. So you go into the bathroom, there's a flashlight on the ground. You can pick up the flashlight. And so then from then on, you have the flashlight. And then from then on, it's also, for the most part, pretty dark. Although there's some sections where it gets really light again. So you go through, you go around. There's a couple different puzzles that happen. There's things in the environment going on that you can interact with. For example, there is a picture on the wall that has been torn down, but you can see kind of the outline of it. If you look around the hallway, and again, if any of this you want to talk about, just take over, because I'm just going to go through in my mind as much as I can remember. There's little pieces of things around that if you can find those pieces, it's the pieces of the picture. And so you have to like zoom in on it. And then it's like, you get this bright light flashes and the sound happens. And so, you picked it up, but
that
it's also
glitch stuff
little,
always gets me. I know I've said this before. I don't know what it is about it, but it just always,
I think it's intended to kind of like prod you just a little bit.
Yeah, it's just so jarring. It's like I just got tased or something.
Yeah. Because it's really good at giving that kind of full visceral experience, because it's everything all at once. And then not only do you get like the flash of light, there's like these little like writings and inscriptions on the screen that just kind of happen for a second and fade out.
Yeah.
I think that's part of some of the secrets that people don't know. I think some people have seen what they are, screen capped them and read them or translate them, because I think some of them are in different languages. Yeah. But I think that I'm not sure if that's been decoded completely or if it even means anything.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is like you're reconstructing this picture. Turns out it's Lisa. It's a picture of Lisa when she was alive. And there's like a phrase on it. It's like, my heart, can you hear it? My something, can you hear it? My something, can you feel it? I'll wait forever if you just come for me. Something like that. It's one of those creepy phrases, and it's a very Silent Hill sort of inscription, to be honest.
One of my favorite things about that particular puzzle is in total Hideo Kojima fashion, there's a piece of the puzzle on like the pause menu that you have to zoom in on. Like you have to just think, oh, let me zoom in on the pause menu here.
And
then one of the pieces is there.
That's so silly. And the other ones are in places that are hard to find too. For example, one of them is like up on a wall that you have to stop and turn around and look up to, which you rarely like. The game sometimes leads you to turn around, but like if you're just doing it of your own accord, you barely don't ever turn around. Because you're so creeped out, you just want to just keep going forward.
Speaking of turning around, another one of my favorite moments in that is when the window falls. And you don't necessarily have to look up and examine like you don't have to. But if you look up and you start looking around, there's also like a stair rail above there. Whatever you would call that little front area by the front door at the end of the hallway.
It's like a 2-story foyer. Foyer, whatever, however you want to be fancy.
And Lisa is actually up there behind the rail, just standing there, not doing anything, just standing there watching you.
And if you just wait for a second, she'll like come back and just walk away. And so that's,
and it's one of those things where it's just like, you can't die in that moment, but it's like
you feel like you can.
Woo! hate it.
Yeah. And then one of the other things is there's like in that sort of entryway, the foyer, there's like a table, like a buffet table that has like just random stuff on it. Like there's a picture, and then there's like, I think like an ashtray or something. There's like, and we should say that the environment's not very clean. There's like empty cans around. There's like I think pill bottles, stuff like that. Like just random stuff, like little blister packets for pills and stuff like that. So there's a bunch of random just kind of garbage and just junk everywhere too.
But side note, this garbage looks very good, like graphically speaking. Like I feel like if you think of a lot of games where there's just like a bunch of junk lying around, it's like it's not very detailed.
Yeah.
At least nowadays, that's a little bit of a different story. But back then, I feel like that stuff was kind of not as detailed. But in this, it was like, whoa, I am really here.
Somebody sat down and 3D modeled this blister pack of pills and put it there. That's the kind of attention that was paid to all of this stuff. There's like beer cans like crushed up everywhere too. And so there's a radio though on that table in the front, the buffet table in the front. And at some point it starts playing stuff and it talks about random things. Like it sounds like a news report. And then it starts talking about like this murder that happened and this guy who, you know, was going crazy and was hearing voices in his head and all this kind of stuff. And, anyway, and then you go around and then one of the things you have to do is you have to pick up a picture and then it has like a blue X on it. And you're like, what? And if you don't know, it's what's the X on the controller. And then you do that. And then it I think, what is it? On the back or something, it says put it out or something like that.
Yeah.
Or does it say written on it? Yeah. And then you do that. And then it's like the eye gets like, it looks like burned away
or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. And it looks like it does like a film dissolve, like not film dissolve, but like a film, like the bubble when it like burns like on the face of the person. And if you look at Lisa, like she has an injury there on her face too. So it's like something, all of this stuff gets connected somehow. And then there's you go around another time and then there's a on the writing on the wall where it says, what is it? It says hello. And that's like, it's like next to the phone. Because there's another table like on the, like at the corner of the hallway where there's a phone and more junk on it. And you walk and you see on another wall, it says, I can hear them calling me from, and then that's it. But if you go to the hello and you look at it and then you go back to the other, it says, it has H. And then you go back and it says LO. And then you look at that and then you go back and it says HE, calling me from HE, LLO. And you do that until it says hell. And then you hear a laugh. I think, is the door locked at that point? I don't know. But you have to
I think it is. Usually when stuff like that happens in this little experience, it'll lock the doors around you. So you can't, you have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Not always, but I think a lot of the puzzles are that way.
Yeah, and so you go around and there's one where the radio is still talking about stuff, and then like he'll randomly snap out like, and today at the 204863 there was a blah, 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 look behind you, and then where I said look behind you, like where it'll like cut out from the radio voice saying the radio stuff, and he's like talking to you, but it's like this kind of monotone, almost demonic sort of voice, and it's like. It's so weird. And I think that's when you can really first get killed by Lisa is like when that thing happens. And the thing is like you look behind you and you don't necessarily die then because there's some timer based aspect of it too. So it's like if you know what you're doing, you're probably going too fast for the timer. And that's why you don't really die when you turn around.
Yeah.
But I think it's like a combination of if the timer's at a certain point and you turn around, then and maybe even him having said that phrase, if those three things are accurate, then you'll get killed.
Yeah.
But you can also get killed by not turning around. So I think if the timer goes so far, then it's like, okay, well, we need to do this.
I think there are just like so many different conditions in there that it feels very random when it happens. Yeah. And there may even be some randomized aspect to it. Like, you know, all these things have to be true. And then there's a little bit of randomness going on in there too.
Yeah. Like maybe the timer picks from like 5 different options and then it randomly picks one of those 5 options, something like that.
Woo.
Yeah.
Should make a horror game, Zarain.
Right. Oh man, dude. I don't know if I could live that experience. but yeah, and so you have to die at some point. That's the thing that is interesting about this game. You can't beat it without dying once. You can die multiple times, but you have to die at least once. And when you die, you wake up in the room that you started. We didn't even mention this. You wake up in this weird room. You see a cockroach running or whatever, and then you're on the floor and you stand up. So it's all first person. So you see yourself standing up. And then there's the door in front of you with a light over it. And then like it opens up and creaks, of course, because all the doors in this game creak. And like you can walk forward. But if you pay attention to the room you're in, it's like stone room. It's like the rest of the hallway is like a house. It's like an actual house that's furnished and whatnot, or at least looks like it's finished and lived in. This looks more like a prison cell, like a stone prison cell. And if you look around, there's a little table in the corner at the beginning. And then if you look really closely on the wall, there's a lot of like tick marks. So like, 1, 2, 3, 4 and a cross for 5. And then like somebody is counting, and they're all over everywhere. So it's like, holy crap, somebody's been counting for a long time. And so if you die, you wake up there again. So you're like, okay, I'm just starting the game again. The first time you die, you don't realize that's part of the game. You're like, well, crap, I did something wrong. Let me start again and figure out what I did wrong. But if you're paying attention, you see that the table has a bag on it now, like a paper lunch bag. And this is one of the weirdest parts of the game too. And it's like, it's got crap on the bottom of it. If you look closely, it's blood. I mean, you can kind of tell it's blood. And if you go over to the bag and you inspect it and look for a second, it'll start moving and talking to you. It's like, what is this game? And then it's like kind of a real low affected voice. So it's like, it's got, pitched down, and it's also kind of muddy. Subtitles help a lot in this game. So I would suggest playing the game with subtitles on. And then the bag says, I walked. I could do nothing but walked. But then I saw myself walking in front of me. The only me is me. Are you sure the only you is you? And then that, combined with all of the tick marks on the wall, you're like, wait a second, what? What? That's something that's not, I think, unfortunately, is not really expounded on so much in PT that I could see so much potential for that in the Silent Hills game, like the full on game where it's like you, I got a vision for what the game could have been. And I don't know that this is what they thought that it was going to be, but my thought on something to incorporate that particularly, the only me is me. Are you sure the only you is you? Is where the game takes place in a fairly confined area. Like not just a hallway. So several buildings, like at the end if you watch the trailer at the end for Silent Hills trailer, it's not, it's like a teaser for a teaser trailer, basically. Yeah. And you see him walking down the alley, the road, and there's like buildings on the side, like maybe 6-8 buildings, which by the way, people have pulled that out of the game. It's actually rendered and you can walk around it. Have I told you this, or have you heard this?
Yeah. I watched
it. Have you seen it? Okay, yeah, it's wild because there's a lot that's rendered in there. It's not just a little bit. It seems like it might be a little bit, but like the buildings are rendered and everything. Anyway, something like that, where it's like just that road and all of those buildings, but all those floors on those buildings, but just the whole game takes place in just that, confined in that, where it's like a timed game. You have to beat it in like 4 hours or something like that. But every time that you play, like something kills you, or like it's like a non-combat game too. So it's just like PT, it's non-combat, and it's just like PT where everything's puzzle heavy, but it's also very creepy and scary, and everything has its own little element of horror about it. And so you go so far and then you die, and then you start over again, and somehow what it does is it fast forwards the replay to, instead of basically, I'm trying to tell you what it is without telling you what it is, so that you would be like about it. So then the second time that you play, like you go into the same room or same building, and then you see yourself there. And but it's kind of like like when you would race yourself, like the ghost to try on like time trials and stuff like that, or time attack, like that, where you see what you did and it replays what you did, and then you're like, oh wait, that made me die, I need to go somewhere else. And then you die over there, but then you go over there, and then like you see you over there doing what you did, and so it's like all of the yous like play out every time you die until you figure out how to beat the game.
That's pretty cool.
But I think what they were going to do with it, and this is what I think Hideo Kojima actually talked about, or either him or Guillermo del Toro, who actually was involved in this too, or was going to be involved with it at least, was they had said that there was going to be some element of the real world with the game. So you had to actually contact people in the real world, kind of like an ARG, alternate reality game, where you had to like contact somebody else in the real world and then have that contact proven somehow in the game so that you could progress. And I think that's what the only me is me as the, are you sure the only you is you.
I also read that they were talking about like kind of like an email thing where like Lisa could email you outside of the game.
Oh man. Now that would be creepy.
Yeah. I don't know if I could handle that midday, just minding my own business.
Oh, I know. Oh my goodness. Dude. Well, that reminds me, there's a game that Fluff and I have looked at, and he's actually gone much more deeper in it than I ever want to. And it goes much deeper than he's gone. Called, what is it called? Oh crap! I totally forgot what the name of the game is, but it's an ARG that has a lot of game elements to it in an actual game too. Was it called The Dark Watchers or it's like the dark something or the blah blah, 3 words I think. Where it's not just ARG, but you also have to interact with a game moderator where they have to send you messages, email or whatever. And there's different levels. And so like, if you go to a certain level, you'll have this kind of interaction, maybe just email. Yeah. But if you go to this level, they'll also text message you. But if you go to the next level, they'll also call you. But if you go to the next level, they'll actually send stuff to your house.
What the heck?
To the next level, you have to go out in the real world and pick up things and deliver things. And if you go to the next level after, it just keeps escalating.
That's wild.
Yeah, and some of the higher levels, you have to sign an agreement that you won't sue the people who do the game or all this kind of stuff. So you have to this big disclaimer. You have to physically sign it legally. Yeah. So it's like, is it called? I feel like it's called like the Dark Watchmen or something like that. The Dark Watchers. Maybe that's it. What is this? Oh no, that's a cryptid thing. It's something like that. But it's so. I mean, like, you know, one of it is it'll give you like coordinates, like latitude, longitude, and then it's like go there and at this time of day and wait. And then, you know, there's anecdotes of like people doing that, and somebody shows up and gives them a briefcase and doesn't say anything, just gives them the briefcase.
Freaking
and then it's like. Yeah, and then they get contacted later. It's like, wait for 2 weeks. Okay. Go to this location and drop the briefcase and just like let it sit there and walk away. So it's like, how much of that is a game and how much of this is just like a game for other kinds of illicit activities?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a thing.
Anyway, so yeah, I expect that there was going to be, you know, a lot of kind of ARG elements to Silent Hills. I think that they mentioned at least some of those. Do you remember back in the day, what was that one big ARG? This is a complete tangent. It was like something about bees. What was that one? Do you remember that?
Something about bees.
Yeah, it was like a website. It was like ilikebees.com or something like that. And
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was this was back when I was in college. And it was an ARG where it was not just an ARG where like it was a MMO ARG. So people had to work together to do things because like things were specific to like coordinates, like, you know, latitude, longitude. And it was basically most of the things you had to do in the real world were like go to a payphone and wait for a phone call at this time of day, and then write down what you hear, and then come back, and then you'll know what to do based on what you hear.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to do where I was at the time, which Memphis. I don't need to hide that. We've talked about that before. There was one task in Memphis, which was a payphone at a Waffle House. And so it was like at this time, it was like 11 a.m. on this day, go to this payphone and wait for a phone call. And so I was actually going to do it, but I had a class at the time. And so I was like, skip class to do this ARG or go to class, and it's like, well, you know, my conscience wouldn't let me skip class.
Yeah, right.
'Cause I'm just like the kind of guy.
I don't know that I heard about that.
Well, what it turned out being, and this was so dumb. If unless I'm mistaken, it turned out being an ARG to announce the release of the Xbox 360.
Now that sounds a little familiar now that you say that.
Let's see, Xbox 360 ARG bees.
Bees.
I love bees. This is it. Yeah. This is totally it. It was an alternate reality game that served as both the real world experience and a viral marketing campaign for the release. For the release of developer Bungie's 2004 video game Halo 2.
Oh.
You never saw I Love Bees?
Nope.
Oh man.
I don't know how I missed that.
Yeah, it was something else at the time. Like, it was really cool. Is it still, the website's still up? Oh my goodness. Man, my brother and I were like really for like a week or two invested in that, because it was when it was real hot and heavy, and like and nobody knew what it was, but it really did become viral in that sense, because
that's wild.
It was clear. It was so, the website even at the time was just so dumb and simple, and just like ultra GeoCities that, like, you know, people knew that it wasn't what it said it was. And then when it started glitching and stuff, so the website would do like glitches and like have like parts of pictures and stuff like that. Then everybody was like, oh, okay, something's going on here.
Oh man. Yeah. The only thing like that I've ever done is like, I did Pokemon Go for a very short amount of time. But when I played it, it was like super buggy. And I just couldn't, like, it was just constantly crashing left and right.
Oh gosh. That sucks.
So yeah, but it was pretty well done for what it was.
Yeah. Like, imagine this kind of stuff these days. It's like, there's so many different elements, especially with everybody having a phone, or, you know, most of the game playing population having a phone. The things you could do would just be insane. Like, I can just imagine things. It's like, it's almost like I hate thinking about ideas like that, because like the second I start thinking about it, like, I could imagine just doing it. I'm like, I know how to make this happen. I could, you know, both you and I are technical enough and have done enough things like development in our past that, like, we could figure it out and be 80% there. But it's that last 20% where it's like, no one's going to play it unless that 20%'s there, as far as like graphics and the marketing to get it in front of people and all that kind of stuff. It's like, that's a lot of effort. But yeah. Anyway, back to PT. So yeah, you die, and you can die multiple times, and then once you die again, and you realize you're in the middle of the game. Like, you go out into the hallway, and you realize that the things that you've done to that point are still done. They didn't get undone. That okay, well, I'm continuing the game. So cool.
At some
you
point,
think the game auto saves, and it does, but it's not. That's not really the function there. The function is that it's part of the game that you're playing.
Somewhere around there, when I was playing through it the first time, I actually closed it and reopened it again, because I thought, oh crap, like, did I just do something wrong? Like, am I at the beginning? What's happening here?
Yeah.
But no, we're good here.
Yeah. And so you just keep going. And one time you go around, like, it's really dark, and the chandelier is replaced with a refrigerator, and it's just like leaking blood onto the floor. And so you hear the splash of the blood and all this kind of stuff. And then you go around another time, and then the refrigerator is shaking back and forth in the air, violently hitting stuff. And then you hear something banging inside, and then you hear a baby's muffled cry coming from, and it's like, oh my goodness, what is this? and it's just like freaky. And then I'm trying to think of what the other puzzles are that we haven't talked about. Were you going to say something?
I was going to say the fast area, like immediately after that, like everything is super fast and blurry. Like this whole time, you know, you can't run or anything. You're just like walking. And then all of a sudden everything's like really blurry, and you're just like sprinting full on through this area. And it's like,
it's elongated too.
Yeah. yeah, it just keeps on looping in and of itself, but it's much
there's no
longer.
door.
Yeah, it's much longer than the L that it was before, and you end up
Everything's lit red.
yeah, everything's straight up lit, fam. Uh, and there's this hole in the wall that you have to find and look through, which that took me forever to find the first time that I was going through that.
It's not apparent at all.
Yeah, definitely not. There was something that kind of hinted that you look like there are like eyeballs like in some of the pictures on the walls and stuff like that.
And they're moving.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's not
so
just
it's the game like it very subtly tells you, it gives you hints about what to do, but if you're not really thinking about it, you just don't really notice that kind of stuff.
yeah, for sure. In retrospect, it's obvious
Yeah.
almost, but at the time, it's definitely not.
Mm-hmm. It definitely doesn't hold your hand, but it kind of gives you a little nudge.
Yeah, yeah. And then I guess eventually you get through all that. Well, and then when you look through the people, it gives some more like lore backstory, so to speak, about Lisa basically, and how things came to be, and the relationship between you and Lisa, because the things told through basically a monologue to you and saying you this and she that. And we didn't even talk about Sync Baby.
Oh yeah, baby.
There's like a looks like a people say it's a fetus, and maybe yeah it is, but it's like it's very large for it's very developed fetus. And it's just sitting in the sink. Like sometimes it's just like they're just like, you know, moving around. You can kind of see its mouth moving. It's like really bloody in the sink in the bathroom. And we also didn't talk about early on, you get locked in the bathroom and you can't get out, and then like, you hear like this walking up to the door in the bathroom, and then you hear bang, 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 bang on the bathroom door. That's creepy. And then like immediately it opens, and then you're like, oh no, she's out there. Oh no, she's out there. She's not. This game does a lot of stuff like that to really mess with you. One of the times I'll like when the refrigerator with the baby is well, not when it's swinging, but I think when it's just hanging there and bleeding, the radio is playing some like really odd music. And then there's something, I think it's Swedish, I think is what they determined is the language that's being spoken on it. Somebody saying something, I think it's Swedish. And you obviously you don't know what that is because you don't, unless you speak Swedish, and then you may be like, oh wow, this is weird too, I'm sure. And then what else? I'm trying to think of everything that happens before the final hallway that isn't like weird stuff that I still want to talk about. So we need to probably speed it up.
The picture thing, but we already talked about that.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's about it. So then you get to the final hallway, and it's pretty dark. And you go through the whole last puzzle, which we really already talked about. There's not much to say other than it just, at that point, the game's just like, oh, no, we totally missed something. After you die, there's a point where like you're going through and it's like you see like the screen glitch. Like just randomly.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so you're like, it's so fast and so like minimal, relatively speaking, that you like, did I see what I thought I saw? And then you just keep walking around and you see it again. And then like you hear like kind of, I think it's the Lisa sound happening. And then you're like, oh no. And then, so it's like building you up that you're going to get jump scared again. Cause I think you have to die first before this happens. So that it's trying to set you up for another one. And so then like it just starts really building. And then like, so it's like the game crashes and it shows you like a screen that really looks like a game crash screen. There's different ones. There's like a blue one. I think they're like different colors, right? And then the different screens have different messages on them. And the messages are weird and cryptic. Sometimes, I think one of them is like, I got this damn bug again, blah, 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 whatever. And it's like, you know, it's like one of the, like a developer note or something. It's like, we need to fix this. And so you see that when you're like, oh, okay, they're trying to give you the impression that it's a bug in the game, and maybe some people really thought that. I probably would have if I had seen that, at least at first.
Initially, when it first happened to me, I was like, oh, what? Like it's very well done. It's not just like a game where it just kind of does that oh ha ha ha, and it's like actually very well done. And the more it progresses, it's like, okay, well, it was supposed to do that, but
right.
Initially, it's like, whoa, maybe not there. Maybe we have a problem.
Yeah, the way it's presented when it first happens, and it only happens once during a playthrough, but when it presents it to you, it doesn't just like, the screen flickers and then it just appears. It like jerks the screen back and forth and does like an animation to make it look like things that aren't supposed to happen are happening.
Like extreme like screen tearing, which can happen in video games anyway. It's very, very well done. It's like even something as simple as that, they thought through it so well. Like
then the audio design of that too is really good. Anyway, so you wake up again in the room and then you just keep going through. So I think we've hit everything.
Yes.
And then the final puzzle is just so cryptic. Cryptic was the word I was looking for earlier.
And then the colors, the lights are different colors, and
that's the weird part of the weird stuff I want to talk about. So and we can get into that. It's random. The lights change. That they change colors at all. And also what color they change to. This is something you and I discovered because like when we discussed, other people had seen it, right? Yeah. We discovered it on our own. It wasn't spoiled for us or anything, which is it's too late now. If you've heard all of this, you've had the game spoiled for you. But like, I wish so hard that I could go back and like delete everything I know about PT from my mind and just play it one time. Like it would just.
That's why I'm so into games that, and we can dive into this a little bit more a little later, but I'm so into games that are so heavily inspired by PT because it's like I want to experience something that is even remotely close to that. Yeah.
It's incredible, but sometimes the light's blue, sometimes it's yellow, sometimes it's green. Have we seen any other colors? I don't know. Is it ever red? Not sure if it is.
Yeah, I think it's only red when you're running through the hallway.
Yeah.
That area.
I think so too.
And the fridge and all that stuff.
And as far as I know, and tell me if you know any different, the color of the light doesn't have any bearing on anything other than just some random strange element.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything where somebody said that has anything to do with anything other than the light's a different color.
So there's that. Some of the other weird stuff that happens is that, and I think this only happens when you're really close to the end of the game, maybe only when you're in the final sequence, is that just randomly you'll hear somebody talk in your ear and in a different language.
Bro.
That's what it sounds like. And then like a little thing will flash, like a little inscription like flashes on the screen, really faded while it's happening. And then that's it. And it's like, what?
The first time that freaking happened, like that messed me up. Yeah. Like, because that didn't happen the other times that I played the game.
That's exactly right. It's so random. I wonder if there's like some like levels of programming. It's like if they've beaten it once, the next time do other random stuff. If they've beaten it twice, next time do even more random stuff.
That wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
Yeah, for real. And similarly, if you go onto the pause screen and you sit for a while, it'll do all that same kind of stuff too. And there's different ones that it does. Has anybody ever figured out what they're saying? What all that is?
Not that I can remember. I mean, maybe I haven't looked up a bunch of stuff about that in a while, but
I'm gonna have to do some investigation because I'm curious because there is some wildly random stuff in this game that I feel like maybe it doesn't mean anything. And even if it does, it's probably just like hints at what they were going to try to do with the game itself. But I would still like to know because I really wish that the game had gotten made.
It's that thing, man, where like you we've played it several times, so we're expecting a certain thing to happen. So like, not that it loses its creepiness, but I mean it loses its creepiness, but it's still like so well done in that aspect that they're, the random stuff, like something happens that we've never heard or seen before, and suddenly we're back there like, what's gonna happen? This hasn't happened like this before.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. And it's like I wish like so badly that I know it doesn't have something like this where it's like the 10th time you play through it or something, it's just like completely different. Like, not that the puzzles are different or anything, but just like all the surprise things are completely different. Like Lisa kills you before you even see her, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, or like when the window falls down, if you look up at Lisa, she jumps down on you and kills you.
Okay.
Can you imagine,
bro?
Like, you've played through this so many times, you know exactly what the game is and all of this, and then something like that happened. Oh my goodness.
Oh man. Yeah, it's talking about that kind of stuff that makes me very excited for whenever Hideo Kojima actually makes another horror game. Like,
Yeah.
I'm very much so looking forward to whatever he ends up doing with that.
Oh man, I wish he would hurry up and do it. I mean, I do and I don't. One thing that just hit me is it's pretty close to 10 years after PT has come out.
Oh, bro.
We're getting pretty close to that.
It totally is.
Which is wild.
Man.
I wonder contractually, I would expect that there's something contractually stopping him, or he's trying to make sure that he has all the pieces in place to actually do what he wants to do with a horror game. Because what you don't want to do, I would assume, as someone who's tangentially involved with businesses, I say tangentially. Anyway, I've been involved with businesses and understanding, what it's like trying to work with teams and build teams and things like that. You probably don't want to try to start a new organization, start a new team, especially a creative team, with, trying to understand, can you work under pressure? Can you make these things happen, and try to put out something that is your ultimate vision, right? Like your Meister work or whatever. And so I presume that Death Stranding was him trying to make sure that he had all the machinery, so to speak, in place,
right,
to do what he's trying to do. Now, is the next thing the horror game? I don't know. I hope so, but I don't know. Especially somebody like him and somebody who's very creative, it's like, it may be hard to pin him down on anything. He may just wake up one morning and be like, guess what, guys? We're making a game that's going to look like a horror game. I'm going to market it like a horror game, and you're going to buy it because you think that it's PT, the actual game, and it's actually going to be a strategy military simulation game. It's like that. He's the kind of person that would do that.
Pretty accurate.
So
it's so funny though to see people like on Twitter or whatever, like, he says literally anything and somebody is like, the next horror game, or
PT confirmed.
Yeah, PT2 confirmed or something like that.
Oh yeah, it's like he oh man. He says, I saw a movie the other day. He saw a new movie. New content confirmed. Yes. It's like, what? This guy's a dude, it's like he does things. Bro, it's like, calm it down a little bit.
Oh.
Or the people that are like, I certainly hope this happens, but I don't think this is going to happen. But there are people who are desperately like, Hideo's meeting with Konami behind doors, or Sony's negotiating with Konami for Kojima so that he can get the Silent Hill IP, so that he can make the next Silent Hill game. It's like, that's not happening. That's literally not happening. Not only is that not happening, it's not happening to the degree that Konami's even hinted that they're going to make another Silent Hill game. So it's like, that's not happening.
Yeah, I've seen so many different rumors and things like that. One that I saw was the studio that made The Medium. that they were going to get them to make the next Silent Hill game.
That is actually much more believable to me.
I agree with that. Yeah, same. So who freaking knows?
Yeah. My question would be, and I don't know enough about his perspective. I mean, clearly I don't know enough about his perspective, but I don't think he's been public enough about his perspective, I should say. I wonder what Akira Yamaoka's perspective would be for doing music for a Silent Hill game that was published by Konami, but not made by Konami directly. Mm-hmm. Well, they don't have any game studios, and I don't know if they certainly did back in the day, but they haven't made their own stuff for a long time. What his thought would be about that, if he would be on board, because I don't know that I'm on board with a new Silent Hill game that doesn't have his music. Not say I wouldn't play it, not say I wouldn't buy it, not say I wouldn't play it, but on board like emotionally,
right?
With
it. I totally feel you. I'm the same way, like with BioShock. Like they've been talking about making another BioShock for so long, but like, what's his name?
Ken Levine.
Yeah, like he's not involved with it anymore. Like that team is not, a team anymore. Like it's going to be a different thing. So.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Any other things about PT that we should cover?
We kind of have hinted at this before, but I feel like this game did something very interesting in that it kind of, I don't want to say it like created a new genre of horror games, but it just, I don't know, what would you call what it did?
It certainly reinvigorated the horror genre in video gaming. There's no doubt of that.
And I think like you said,
it inspired an aesthetic of a game.
Yeah. Like you said before, like I can't even remember like any. Granted, I've never followed it as closely as you prior to PT coming out, but I can't really think of any good horror games that really came out for many years.
To be honest, I had gotten so burned by Silent Hill and Resident Evil at that point, even that I kind of stopped paying attention. So there may be some gems from like 2012, 2013 that I'm not aware of. If so, anybody listening or watching that knows of any like absolute gem horror games from let's say approximately 2010 to 2015, let your boy Zerain know, because I want to play them. Like seriously.
There was what was it? Condemned Criminal Origins was a pretty good game.
Okay, yeah.
I think that was a 360 game. Pretty sure that was a 360 game. And then like the Xbox generation, there was that's getting a little bit into the older stuff, or that was still kind of a common thing. But Condemned is really the only game that I played like in the 360 generation horror wise that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, the series, honestly, what I want to do is I want to go back and play some of the horror series that I either haven't played or didn't get deeply into, like Fatal Frame, for example. That's a game played it all the way through, but I've played several hours into it a couple times, I think. And I really like the game. And quite frankly, one of the times that I didn't finish it, it was because I was too creeped out to continue. So it's a very creepy game.
Yeah.
So I want to play through those. And then also there's a game on PS2, I think it is, called Siren, that I hear is an amazing horror game. Yeah. And then there's another one, which is an extremely rare physical game on PS2 called Rule of Rose. That I would like to play.
I didn't know that was a PS2 game.
What's that?
I didn't know that was a PS2 game. For some reason, I thought that was a PC game.
Pretty sure that it's on PS2. Yeah, PS2. I think it only came out on PS2. It looks like.
Oh no, I know this game. Yeah, that cover just didn't register in my brain. That's what that was. Yeah, I've seen this.
I did not realize that this was
a
an
pretty
Atlas
expensive
game. How did I not know that Rule of Rose was an Atlas game?
That's one of those.
Now I definitely want to play it.
You're right. That's one of those where if you go into a game store, that is behind the glass, whatever, glass display case.
Yeah, there's a streamer that I don't really watch streaming much at all lately, but I would watch her on and off. And I became aware of her because she did Silent Hill speedruns, like the original Silent Hill, and she was like, for a while, she was like top 10, top 5. And she was really, really interesting streamer character personality. You know what I mean? So she's kind of funny to watch. But she kind of stopped streaming and then started and stopped. So it's like I kind of fell out from what all she was doing. But she, at one point, pretty early on, when I was following what she was doing, she actually got a copy of Rule of Rose.
Nice.
And and I think at the time, I don't know how much she paid for it, but it was it was over $100. I'm pretty sure even at the time. And so I don't know what it goes for now.
I never knew that was a horror game. Every time I saw that, it just didn't scream horror game to me. It kind of,
the cover certainly doesn't.
Yeah. It kind of made me think of like that PS3 game Journey that came out for some reason.
Oh yeah. Because of the kind of, I mean, it does have somewhat of an effeminate design for the cover.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Yeah, $300 or so is what it goes for now.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Oh, here's one $444, but that's a buy it now price.
I want to play the Clock Tower games. I actually got Clock Tower 3 fairly recently, but I don't have 1 and 2. It's on PS2.
Is that a PS2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have 1 and 2, so I'm not going to play it until I get 1 and 2. But
so I don't know anything about the 3D Clock Tower games. All I know is that the original Super Famicom Clock Tower, that's a game that I want to speed run for some stupid reason. Partly because I freaking love the soundtrack to that game. It's so good. It's like, it's so good. And they remade it. I think it's called Clock Tower First Fear or something like that. Maybe that's the one that you're talking about. Like, so I think it's on PlayStation 1.
I don't know. That's a good question.
But I'm pretty sure the Super Famicom one was never released on Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah. It's like, it's a 2D clearly. But it's a really cool design of a game that gives it's like almost like an adventure game, but there's like some actiony elements to it. But the thing that I really like is that it not only does it have multiple endings, which is a cool thing in video games, it has multiple ways to end the game. Meaning that the game isn't linear in the sense that to get to the end of the game, you do all this stuff and you have the final boss fight and then you're done with the game. There is that way to finish the game and there's an ending with that, but there's also a way to end the game in like 5 minutes. It's a different ending to the game than if you'd play through the rest of the game. Well, I guess the spoilers. Do you want me to talk about it, or do you want me to like just hold off in case you're interested in playing?
Let's hold off on that there.
Okay.
Yeah. I love stuff like that though, like games that will let you just freaking go try to fight the final boss at the very beginning of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, granted,
slight spoilers. That this isn't fighting the final boss at the end of the game.
Yeah, but yeah.
But that have options, right?
Yeah.
That are open. It feels more like it feels more realistic when you have options like that than it is like this kind of directed experience. Oh, I'm playing a movie or whatever.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I know I like that too, where it's like you can fight the final boss in like the first three minutes and get your rear end kicked. And it's like, right. Oh, that's not what I'm supposed to do. Those games actually, in some ways, are even better to me. I mean, they're better in that open sense. But I mean, just as a mechanical experience of a game, narratively, to me, it seems like that's better because it gives you even more of a sense of your progression throughout the game when you know that how bad you got your butt kicked, minute 5 in the game versus hour 25 and you go back or 50 or whatever if it's like a pretty serious RPG or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. I just looked over here. Rule of Rose PS2 new sealed 2006 original rare. Best offer or buy it now for $3,900. That's definitely not going to sell for $3,900. I would be surprised if somebody pays $1,000 for that.
That sealed market is getting heated. That's a wild thing. That's a whole different conversation. But
100% will never. I say never. I will very likely never ever buy a sealed game that isn't graded as sealed. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's too easy to reseal a game and make it look convincing, somewhat convincing.
Yeah, like you absolutely have to have somebody that knows what they're looking at to make sure it's at. Because I mean, like you can reseal it, and like the year that was manufactured, the seal might actually look different than from what that seal would actually be. So
right. So the only sealed anything that I'm really interested in when it comes to video games is Silent Hill 2 Black Label, clearly Black Label. Although I would consider a greatest hits, but that wouldn't be the final grail. It would be a Black Label Silent Hill sealed. But I will not buy one that's not graded. It has to be graded and has to have been graded quite a while ago.
Yeah.
Like not like 2020 graded. I mean like graded in like 2015 or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the only way I would be very comfortable that it's what it is and would be comfortable spending the kind of money you'd have to spend to get it.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that at some point I would probably spend $1,000 on, but I wouldn't spend $1,000 on it right now.
Yeah, and you just can't. And that's another thing. Like, unless you are holding this thing, like I do not trust. I mean, some people on eBay are very, very thorough about this kind of thing, and I try to be this way when I sell something. But like, when you buy a sealed game, you don't want like, and especially if you're spending several $100s for it, like you want something that has no tears in it. Like literally anything that you can visibly see wrong with this, you need to document. You know, and a lot of people don't do that.
I absolutely would not buy it without it being, might buy it on eBay, but not buy it without it being in my hand first. So if it's on eBay, I would talk to the seller. If they're selling an item like that, they would be okay with me showing up, not necessarily at their house, but somewhere in public that I can inspect it before we complete that transaction.
Yeah.
And I definitely would not be like, oh, here's my $800. Send it to me via USPS or UPS. It's like, no.
Yeah, no.
That's not going in the mail. That's going into my hand when I give you this money.
or like at a convention or something like that.
Yeah, totally.
You know, where somebody is very clearly selling like graded sealed games, you know, like that's their thing. Or, you know, they very clearly know a lot about that, you know?
Yeah. And they invested in the ability to be able to sell you because you have to pay for a table at a convention, right?
Right.
So it's like they're trying to operate a business clearly.
Yeah, but nah. It's just the average Joe Schmo on eBay. No, sir.
Right. I don't know why anybody would think that game's worth $3,900. You're better off, like investment wise, taking that $3,900 and investing it in Magic cards right now than buying Rule of Rose sealed. Because it won't appreciate as fast as Magic cards will appreciate. Because for $3,900, you can buy a bunch of cards that are likely to increase fivefold in the next 10 years. And so your investment of $4,000, let's say, would be $20,000 in 10 years, probably not even 10 years, probably 5 years. And that's a fairly decent investment. But again, you'd have to have the knowledge of which Magic cards to buy specifically.
Right.
And then there's the whole grading thing there. And then there's fakes and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And
holy crap. The rabbits are in the holes.
Yep. We got to wrap this one up, man. We'll talk forever.
Now I'm looking at eBay.
Different topic too.
Right. We are. So PT, what were we talking about? Oh, it inspiring other games.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. As far as I'm concerned, I feel like horror games they were reborn when this game came out. Like,
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah. Everything is so much different now, especially games that like kind of, they definitely lean into that whole mechanic that that PT has with the looping and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like very clearly this was inspired by PT.
Right.
So it's always cool when they lean into that, but they also kind of they do their own thing with it. You know, I think that's cool. But
Yeah.
there are so many games that are trying to be PT that it's unbelievable. And we didn't mention this at all, actually, but if you did not know, PT got pulled. Oh, we did mention this. Briefly. PT got pulled from the PlayStation Store. What did I say? Like, wasn't that like 6 months?
It got pulled in April of 2015, and it was no longer downloadable in May of 2015.
Yeah, that's why. So it was not available for that long. But so over the years, people have come up with different ways that you can play it. If you want to experience this and you never experienced it, there's an Unreal Engine version of it. I don't really know the story behind that. I've played a few recreations of it, and they obviously are not as good. I have the Unreal version. I have not played it.
So wait, is that the one where it's like they made a word that had P&T in it, and that was what it's called?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, this one's just called Unreal PT, I think.
Okay.
But from what I hear, people actually kind of recommend this one.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. We should probably play that and see how it compares.
Yeah.
The other recreations of it I've played are just not anywhere near as good. Like you can tell they just feel clunky, you know.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Or too smooth for that matter.
Or too smooth. Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Yeah. So the one that I played was too smooth. It just didn't feel, you know.
It's like you're blazing around.
Yeah. But there have been over the years different ways to play the game, to download the game again on original hardware. One came about fairly recently, and I didn't really look at it to see exactly what it was, but there are ways to play it on PS4 hardware. A lot of them for a while, it was like you could re-download it if you had already purchased it in the past. It had some kind of authentication thing with that. But the one that came out fairly recently, I'm pretty sure you could download it regardless somehow.
I do know that there is a set of PlayStation 4s so a set of serial numbers, so earlier models that are jailbreakable in a way that you can install it and play it.
Okay, maybe that's what that is.
Yeah, I know that Fluff had told me about that because he knows my burning desire to have it on a PS4 somehow, somewhere.
Yeah.
But I think my PS4 is one that you can do that with, but I don't want to do it and brick it or make other things unable to be used on my PS4. So I need to figure out what to do about that.
Yeah. Might just need to buy an experimental console.
Yeah, that's fair.
The PT console. That's all it is.
I mean, at this point,
yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, dude. That's the only reason why I have my PS4 set up over here, and why I don't want to. I have never. I was tempted to get a PS4 Pro, but I thought no, I don't want to risk literally anything. Even though I have an image of this hard drive on a USB drive, all this stuff to try and back this game up. I don't want to risk anything happening to this game other than total catastrophic hardware failure or something like that. It is its thing, and that is that.
That was my theory or thought, was that I would just get a PS4 Pro because I don't have one, and then just try the old one to jailbreak it and see. Maybe I'll do that one of these days.
When did you get yours? Your PS4?
The PS4?
Yeah.
Whenever Fallout 4 came out, because what was it? Best Buy, I think it was, had a ridiculous deal where it's if you bought a PS4, you got Fallout 4 for free. I think it was. Okay. And I was like, and it literally it had just come out, so it was a brand new game for free, and it's
November 10th, 2015. So that very well might be supportable there.
Oh yeah, I think you mean the break jailbreak?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know it can. We check the serial and everything. Yeah. So that's not the issue. The issue is just I don't want to engage in a potentially irreversible process that makes it where I don't have a PS4 at the end of the day.
Yeah. Right.
So anyway. All right, man. Good talk.
Yes. It's always good to talk about PT. I'm sure it'll
True.
come up in the future.
Right.
At least like a sub note in every single podcast. Anyway. So yeah, we need to do a PT stream when you're down here, and we can film some stuff too, and all that stuff.
Yes.
So
Yes. All the yes to that.
Add that to the list. Play PT, and we need to play through PT, and then we need to play some of the like the Unreal PT, and maybe check out a few of those and see how they compare, and with it fresh on our minds and all that. So
that's a great idea. I love it.
Yeah,
let's do it.
You heard it here first, cyberspace. So, Zerain, let's just say that the people of cyberspace were like, you know what? Heck, this Zerain guy is pretty cool. I want to see everything. I want to experience all of him. Where would they go to experience all of you?
Well, you can go to Zerain.net. Xeraen.net and find all of my links there, and not all of my links, but just literally it's like a fake link tree. It's fake because it's not actually Linktree, but it's a thing that looks like Linktree that I put together in HTML because internet.
Yes.
So, Xeraen.net. And you can find all of my links, which unfortunately there is not an only. There's no other links like that there.
So yeah, likewise, if you go to michaelk.net/links, you will find all of my stuff there in front of you, which Zerain is also extremely heavily involved in. So all that stuff. And also, if you're listening to the auditory form of this, if you go to hyperpixelpodcast.net, you can look at our pretty faces while you hear the words coming out of our mouth holes. So there's that option presented in front of you. So anyway, cyberspace. It has been a pleasure, as always. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate the heck out of you, and we will see you next time out there in cyberspace land.
Later.
Deuces.